Time now for the Lemon Cohen report. We missed each other last week because I was away for the holiday, a nice
No, you were getting
Friendsgiving.
your teeth. You were doing something with your teeth. Let's see them choppers. Oh, they're looking good, man. They're
I know.
pretty. You got some pretty teeth.
Thank you, brother. I paid a lot for them. So let me ask you, there's been a lot happening in the news. I don't even know where we start. Should we just start with today?
I think we have no choice because it's not even a daily chaos. It's almost every 3-4 hours. There's something new that's thrown at the American people that just, I don't know, that is not just newsworthy, but in and of itself, under any other normal circumstance, would be a major, major
Right.
scenario.
Right.
Major. Take, for example, not more than an hour ago, they concluded the last cabinet meeting of the year.
hmm
And with that, we all should say, thank God. This was
Is this the one where he was sleeping?
he's not sleeping. All right. Let me enlighten our viewers here. So
Enlighten
he's
us,
not
Michael.
sleeping. Unless he's talking, or unless you are talking about him,
He's not
he
interested.
closes his eyes in boredom.
Oh, boy.
All right. That's what it is. He's just bored. So, for example, when RFK Jr. was talking about medicine and what he's doing, whoa, 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 whoa. Why are you talking about that? Do you not see the king is at the table? Now, enough of me talking about me. I want all of you to talk about me. And none kissed ass today better than sweet Kristi Noem, who sat there and actually told Donald that thanks to him, he was able to keep the hurricanes away. There were no
hmm
hurricanes this year. All right. Thanks to you and your red Sharpie, because you can move a hurricane pattern with a red Sharpie. I didn't know if you know that, Don.
Yeah, actually,
Because
yes.
you're not a smart guy, Don. All right. You're not smart. All right. You're not. You're fake news. All right. And you work for an organization that was fake news. They're all dummies. You can move a weather pattern with a Sharpie. Plain
Oh,
and
my
simple.
gosh. Yeah.
She then turned around and said that thanks to him and blowing up these 23 odd boats, that he saved every American, that more than 300 million, he saved hundreds of millions of people would have overdosed and died as a result of cocaine.
hmm
I'm not
hmm
so sure of that. I know you maybe saved a couple 100,000 people from having a good time, but dying from the cocaine, I'm not 100%
But,
sure
but
about
but
that.
Michael, let me just say that's what he wants you to. He wants you to get distracted by that. The point of the matter is whether those people were doing something bad or good. We don't know. We don't know if they were doing something bad because there's no transparency around it. And even if they are, still have to abide by the rules of engagement. And so even if they are bad people, you still have to follow the Constitution. And you cannot fire, especially a second time, on people who are defenseless because that's just murder. So I think he wants you to get distracted by oh, well, we saved this many people because of the drugs and because of that. Okay, great. But that's not the point. And no one ever calls him out on that. Instead, people get sidetracked and they get distracted, which is exactly what I believe they want.
So, it's funny because my Substack that I put out every morning before 8 a.m., I called it Orders Without Honor. And I'm with you 100%. I don't believe that these are war crimes per se. Why? Because we're not at war.
Right.
All right.
So that
I
makes it
believe
illegal
that
then.
these acts, which is referred to as double tap, is murder one. I really believe that. I don't believe that this should be tried in a military tribunal. I believe that this should be tried in an international court, because I believe what Hegseth or anybody else who had their fingerprints on this double tap, I believe it's murder one. In fact, just to make you laugh if I can, because I didn't see you last week, I started out my Substack. I was not aware of the term double tap. Were you?
No, I was not
Okay.
aware of it.
So you see, I always believed that the term double tap referenced the mannerless creep at the dinner table who dunks his French fry, or worse, his mozzarella stick into the communal bowl of ketchup or tomato sauce, takes a slobbering half bite, and then dunks it again. Because nothing evokes the sensation of throwing up in your mouth quite like watching somebody baptize their bacteria laced leftovers in a shared condiment. Right? It's the kind of social crime that makes you want to flip the table over and storm out of the restaurant gagging and dry heaving. But it turns out that I was being generous because the real definition of double tap is infinitely more grotesque, more barbaric, and more morally bankrupt than anything involving fries and ketchup crust. To those of you that are watching with us, double tap is the deliberate secondary strike on an already incapacitated, defenseless person. It's a second order, a second hit, a second killing after the threat is already neutralized. And that is what Don Lemon was just saying. These guys were hanging on to wreckage of a boat.
Mm-hmm.
They were
Mm-hmm.
hanging on
Mm-hmm.
to wreckage, basically after surrender, after injury, after the fight is over. It is the military equivalent of stomping on a man who's already lying unconscious on the pavement while the entire world is watching. And when Trump turns around and says, we are the envy of the world, that we are respected now. Respected why? Because you're using your military power to blow up a 12-foot aluminum canoe filled with allegedly drugs? Really? And that you think is okay? That you think Americans are okay with? Well, here's the funny thing, they're not. You know what else they're not okay with? The lack of transparency with the Epstein files. You know what else they're not okay with? ICE raids. You know what else they're not okay with? The cost of living today,
The economy.
affordability, which he deems to be a democratic scam. It's another hoax by the Democrats, despite the fact just yesterday alone, and I talk about this on my YouTube thing as well. He posted that he is the affordability president. I'm confused.
He didn't even know, had never even heard of that word and used in those terms politically until Mamdani came along. And then he saw that it worked for Mamdani, and now he wants to steal it for MAGA. That's how I feel about that one. You don't?
Except he keeps calling affordability a Democratic scam. Well, if it's a Democratic scam, why are you calling yourself the
Yep.
affordability president? Where are the people around him in order to, I don't know, how about organize this cabinet meeting? Because then Shady Vance sits there, eye mascara and all, right? Massaging the chair, right? As if it was his high school prom date, right? I'm serious, right? He's
Ooh.
sitting there, he's massaging the leg of the of the chair, right? And he's talking about all the incredible things that are happening right now for our country, from tariffs, affordability, the reduced price of gasoline. We're now at $2.50 a gallon. Also not true. I think we're $2.98 a gallon. I mean, everything is a misstatement. And when Trump goes on and he goes on the attack and he says to all of those that are sitting there taking photos and in the press pool that you're all fake news, you're all a bunch of liars. Don, I want to ask you, as somebody who's lived that world, how do you take it?
What, the fake news and all liars thing?
Hmm.
I've gotten so used to it, but what I think it did was erode the trust in the media, and people bought into it. But I also think the media didn't really help themselves. I think it's insulting. I think that they should stand up to him when he does stuff like that. When he calls someone quiet piggy. I think the next person, a man in the room should have said something, and even the women in the room, like they should say something. The worst thing that you can do to Donald Trump is ignore him. So if you say, if you don't start treating us, in a respectable manner, then I would just stop covering him. Because the real reporting doesn't come from the bullshit that comes out of his mouth, either on Air Force One or even if it's when he's in the Oval Office doing whatever, because you're going to get that. The real reporting comes from the people who are actually doing the reporting behind the scenes. And
You know what I
so,
thought was interesting, Don? One of the women, because it's always the woman that he attacks recently, was from News Nation. Now, with all due respect to your ex buddy over there, Chris, and so on, you and I have higher ratings, by the way, than News Nation. I
yeah,
mean, News Nation is half the day of movies, the other half day is news. I don't even know what I don't waste my time when they call and they ask me to come on their shows. For what reason? You should come on my show. I have better viewership than they do. So why is this person even on Air Force One? If I have more viewers on my Substack, on my YouTube channel, why would you not allow me to fly Air Force One and ask the questions? And I promise you one thing, I really do, because I stand with you, D-Leb. All right. If I was there and he called that reporter, that woman, a quiet piggy, I would have said something.
yeah,
I would have
same.
said it when I was working for him. I would have said it on Air Force One. I don't know. What are you going to do? Open the door and push me out? You're not going to invite me back? That's okay. That's okay. I'm willing to go that mile. But that's just this constant attack on journalists, especially female journalists. It's, it's, what's the right word for it? It's disgraceful. All right. And it's beneath everybody. It's beneath even the people that is sitting there and then just saying, oh, thank God he didn't say that to me.
Yeah, well, you're right. It's beneath everyone, but no one's going to stand up to him because they're afraid of him. And like I said, it's their own fault. They're concerned about whether they're going to get their business done, right? And you can see why I'm sure the reporters are like, I'm not going after this. Number one, they may be afraid of his wrath, which usually reporters are not. That's something I think that's new in this day and age. But number two, they're afraid that what's going to happen back at the house, meaning, the office, when they're like, oh, why did I get a call from Donald Trump? And what did you say to him? And why did we lose access to this interview? Or why is he pulling our press cards? Or why is this, merger? We're getting trouble with this merger or some business that we want from the FCC. That's what the real concern is. And so I think it's awful that he's doing that, but I do think it is corporate mainstream media's um, part of their own making, their own doing.
It's 100% is their own doing. You can't expect to get something from his administration and cover him negatively. In
Right.
essence, you're talking about it's almost journalistic extortion. All right. If you cover me grandly, if you conflate the things that I say, right? Or you flatulate on, it, there comes a point in time where if you do something positive, then it works for you. But if you report it accurately and he deems it, it's not about whether you deem it negative or not. It's whether he deems it negative or not. Now, all of a sudden, you risk losing your license. You get called fake news. You get called ugly. You get called piggy. You get called stupid. I mean, I remember the days like in third grade or second grade, when, you turn around and somebody would make a stupid comment and everybody would laugh and turn around and be like, dude, you're an idiot. Right. And so on. I never in my life thought I would see the day when the president of the United States of America on the greatest airplane in the history of aviation goes to the back. Why do they even let him go to the back to the press pool? Goes to the back and engages in petty commentary to journalists. Because did
Yeah.
you not think they were going to ask you about the double tap? Did you not think they were going to ask you about Pete Hegseth knowing? Did you not think that they were going to ask you about the Epstein files or any of the other thousand things that are going on right now that you deem negative to you? Right, because you only want them to talk about your fake tariffs, bringing in $28 trillion, the massive amount of deals. Remember the 90 days, 90 deals?
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm waiting for a journalist to have the balls, the moxie, the gumption to turn around and say, Mr. President, I know that we get hit by you every single day with a flurry, with a fire hose of chaos, but I do want to go back 10 months. You put out a statement, 90 deals in 90 days. How many deals were made? Which countries were they made with? And how would you rate your effectiveness in that 90 deals, 90-day scenario? That's what I'd like somebody to say. Let's start going back in time with the things that we just keep forgetting because nobody can remember all of this chaos on any given day.
Well, that's the point. That's the point. Is that no one can remember the chaos, and you're right. That's the point. But you're right. Someone that doesn't mean he shouldn't be asked about it. But I think that strategically, they need to try to pin him down on those things and stop allowing him to change the subject because, again, that's what he wants. So I think that, look, it's a catch-22 because if you see the people right now who are going into, especially the Pentagon, have you seen the types of reporters that they're allowing into the Pentagon now?
Uh-huh.
And it's like these people should not even be allowed to hold a microphone or to be able to post online, and they're allowing these crazy right wingers, conspiracy theorists, people who have no journalistic background nor integrity, to do reports on the Pentagon. But the thing is that they know those people are not going to put out anything that's negative about the administration, and if they do get some information, what do they have to do according to the new Pentagon edict? They have
Uh-huh.
to run it by before they can publish it. Who wants
By
to
run
operate
it
under
by
those
Pete
conditions?
Hegseth or
Yeah,
his group of lackeys.
yeah. And so, but I do believe that if it would make people, I know this is going to sound weird, Michael, I think it would make people better reporters if they do get kicked out. Because then you have to find a way. You've got to actually work for it. You're not just going to sit there and be a stenographer. The president said this at the press conference. Do your live shot, blah, 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 blah. And then there's no, as I said, no real reporting. You are just broadcasting or being a stenographer, or a character in the TV show that Donald Trump and what's her name, Caroline Levitt or whomever, or Stephen Miller, that they have come up with. So I think sometimes you just say, we're not going to do it. And then start doing the real reporting where you have to develop sources. You have to get the information. You have to find sources so that you can source it more than once, more than twice, rather than just sort of relying on someone to hand you the information because of proximity.
I mean, just imagine if you were the reporter, if I was the reporter on Air Force One, and he asked me, what outlet are you with? And I said, I'm with my own. I'm with my Substack. I'm with my YouTube channel, the Michael Cohen show, blah, blah, blah. And he starts calling me fake news and
Hmm.
stupid. You're not a very smart guy. Okay.
That would be true, but go on.
I'd be like this. I would say, no, thank you. I would say, you know what? You're right, Mr. President, but that doesn't answer the question.
Hmm.
Did
Yeah,
you know about the double tap? It's a very simple because you're a smart guy. See, two people could play that game, especially
right.
two New Yorkers like us, right?
Yeah.
You're a very smart guy. You know the difference between yes and no. Did you, yes or no, know about the double tap strike on those individuals, the Venezuelans that were hanging to wreckage after the first strike? Yes or no, sir? Sir, Mr. Smart Pants, Mr. Smarty Pants, yes or no? And then he has to give an answer either way. And if he doesn't, I'll take that as a no. And then you
He's
play,
going to,
on your radio, we're not going to take it.
yeah, but don't you think that if you do that, he's going to try to insult you again and then call on someone else, but you can't let him do that. And everyone around you needs to support you.
Hmm. Right.
Sir, so next, Michael, you're
No,
dumb, you're
wait,
stupid,
wait,
whatever. I didn't answer that question. Go ahead, Don. No,
right.
no, President, I'm not talking to you, Michael. Go ahead, Don. yes, Mr. President, same question that Michael just asked. I have the same
Exactly.
question that Michael just
Exactly.
asked. Yeah,
Exactly. And then he says, where are you from? You're fake news too. And Jane, how about you? Same question, sir.
yeah.
That would be interesting. But the problem is, look, media doesn't stand by one another. You know that better than anybody. Um, you
I
know,
do.
things that like you and I do, so out of the ordinary for media, right? For journalists, including many independent journalists, where they have their own ideas, they have their own wishes and wants. They want to be invited to the briefing room. Me personally, I don't give a shit if you
That's
invite me to the briefing room. You see,
that's the attitude they need to have.
I
Yes,
can
you
watch
can
that
watch it.
garbage, right, on
Right,
television, on
right.
C-SPAN, and I'll report the facts as I know them to be, not innuendo. People get mad at me too, Don, because I'll say Donald Trump was not sleeping. What the fuck is wrong with you, Michael? He was sleeping, right? And so, really? Really? You know that he was sleeping? Maybe he's closing eyes because he's bored, right? You don't know him like I do. I've seen him do it before when he was in 70, not 80. I've seen him do it. He closes eyes. He's just bored because he's not talking or you talking about him, plain and simple. I turn around and I say, he does not have dementia. Plain and simple. Oh my God, how could you possibly say that? You're on Trump's side, you're bending the knee. Because I said the guy doesn't have dementia, and I'm talking firsthand experience. I have firsthand knowledge that he
Well, I
does
don't think
not.
you're bending the knee, Michael, but I don't know. How do we know that he doesn't have dementia? We haven't examined him. The doctors
I
that I've
you
spoken
don't
to,
have
and the
to
ones
you
that I
don't
see
I
are saying that it's a possibility and that there is cognitive decline. I don't think you're bending the knee, but I don't think you can rule it out because he does exhibit behavior that is, I guess, reminiscent or indicative of someone who is either in cognitive decline, who maybe has dementia or on their way.
Yeah. Again, only for 15 years of being by the guy's side, and so on. Everybody has different, speech patterns. Everybody has different ways of dealing with things. It's not dementia. What he is he's angry. And you know this because you've seen it. What does
Yeah,
Donald do when he gets angry?
he lashes out. He attacks.
He attacks in a manner which is buffoonery. He in a way that is completely just unhinged and unleashed. He just goes right at it and says some of the most ridiculous things. I mean, again, like if we were back in second, third grade.
Yeah. Well, and that's even worse. But the thing is that on all of these things, like you're saying, I really don't think, I really do think that we cannot become distracted by the intentional distraction, right?
I agree.
And that happens a lot. And I'm not sure, look, because some of it is so outrageous that you have to cover it. And even the stories that are big stories, some of it some of them are because he wanted to distract from the Epstein files. And so
Hmm.
he went over here, started this fire. The fire became, a mass forest fire. And I don't think he realized, like some of the stuff in Venezuela. I think some of this stuff was just distractions from the Epstein files. And he they inserted themselves and they made the situation, whatever it is, so much worse that the story for them became a bigger story than it would have before.
But here's the funny thing. So you brought up Epstein file. Good, because it seems to be getting drowned out, right? But here's the
Yeah.
crazy thing. 16 days. They have 16 days or 15 days before which they have to start turning over the documents. All right.
Oh, I don't know if I
Now,
don't think we're ever going to see all of them.
no,
I don't
well,
think.
maybe not all at once, like people are hoping that they're just going to take the files, put it on a thumb drive with a terabyte, hard drive, and then just hand it out to members of Congress. No, you're right about that. They're going to put it out in tranches, but it'll come out the first tranche, 20,000 pages of it. There's no doubt in my mind. Of course,
You don't
it
think that
will.
you don't think that Pam Bondi is going to say we can't release this information because there's an investigation in the Southern District of New York into the Democrats?
No, no. I think there are parts of it that she will say that. But as
Right.
far as there are people who may be listed or named there that are no longer even alive. There are people who Trump doesn't give two shits about. There will be names of people who are either Democrats or Democratic supporters or things like Prince Andrew.
We're
There are
kind of on the
things.
same page. I'm saying that we're never going to see all of it. We're never going to see the redacted. And if Donald Trump is in there anywhere, and that it is some sort of questionable behavior, I don't know if we'll ever see that
Well,
from
I
them.
think we have a much better chance to see it when we retake the House. And also, if we're fortunate enough, because the way things are looking right now, based upon issue, the most important issue is not Epstein. It's not the double tap strikes. It's not even well, it's partially the tariffs. It's affordability. When you can't afford to send your kid to school with a belly full of food from breakfast, or send them with a lunch, or when they come home to have a proper dinner or a snack, all right, that's a real problem. And that affordability issue is something that is what's driving, for the most part, his favorability ratings into the 20s, 29, 28 favorability rating. And I want to know, who are these 28 idiots, this 28% of America? That's still a massive number of people. That's like 68, 70 million Americans. All right. If you start with maybe 60 million Americans. All right. That's a massive number of people who don't realize that everything has gone up. And fuck this nonsense about, oh, gasoline's down $2.99. Gasoline is not the indicator for affordability. You
Right.
go and you wanted to buy a fucking turkey for Thanksgiving with some sweet
Do you see the
potato and some,
prices?
so insane. During the summer, I talked about it all the time here and elsewhere. You wanted normally, you have a house in the Hamptons, or you have your house and you want your friends, your guests to come over and to enjoy themselves. You bring hamburgers, maybe a couple steaks and dogs, whatever it might be, some corn. Not anymore. Not anymore. I spoke to a bunch of friends that have houses out there. They're like, I'm not doing it. I decided I was going to have a barbecue for six of my friends. It was $400. He goes to me, it was $400. I did it once, and I told my wife I'm never doing it again. I said to him, I don't blame you. He goes, a hamburger, each one, when you go, and it's extremely expensive out there, but it's expensive everywhere. I mean, it's out of control. $20 plus a pound of ground beef in order to make burgers? Seriously? So
Yeah.
what are you going to give everybody, a slider and come off looking, and so, and then, now you want to go and you want to get some wine, you get some alcohol. I mean, that's what people do. You have parties, backyard parties. I remember as a kid growing up in Long Island, I remember we used to have neighbors come over. We would go to neighbors' houses. We'd all have it. You can't afford to do it. You have 10 people there. Could cost you $500-600,
Or more, if not
or
more.
more, right? I mean, this is completely out of control, and Americans are feeling it in their pocket every single day. And you know what? Even the ones that voted for Trump, especially the independents and the sort of we'll call them Democratic centrists, even the Republican centrists, they're saying, I'm terribly sorry, but you know what? It's not about you anymore, Donald. It's about us.
Yeah. Michael Cohen, always a pleasure. I'll see you next week for the Lemon Cohen report. Make sure you
Yep.
guys smash the screen. Follow Michael Cohen on all of his platforms. Follow me on all of my platforms. Make sure you become a subscriber and also become a paying member. It helps us stay viable out here on these independent and streaming streets.
And by
Thanks,
the way,
Michael.
Don, you and we got to get out to DC really soon, because there's a lot of stuff that's going on there that could use some attention.
Yeah, do you think they'd ever give us a White House press pass?
We can ask.
I've asked. They're not doing it. Thanks, Mike. I'll see you soon.
Later, Lemon.
Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a show. We're live every weekday at 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Time, with new clips dropping at 2 p. and 8 p. And if you want even more Don Lemon Show content, join the Lemon community. Members get exclusive posts, behind-the-scenes videos, and live chats just for you. So hit the join button or visit our channel page to sign up. Thanks again for all your love and your support, and I'll see you next time.